I wish I could say I hesitated, that I stared at the glowing screen, heart pounding, resisting whatever temptation hummed through that quiet vibration on my nightstand. But the truth is, I picked up before the second ring. Her voice was soft, almost apologetic, like she knew exactly what she was doing. "Are you up?" Of course I was. Sleep had been a stranger lately, ever since things between us had started shifting, slowly, dangerously, like a fault line beneath polished floors. It started with a glance that lingered too long, a laugh that curled around my neck and stayed there. She was never mine, but she knew the power she had over me. "I'm outside," she said. I didn't even ask why. The air was thick that night, not cold but charged, as if the moon had dipped too low and decided to watch us from the branches. She leaned against the hood of her car in a black hoodie, her arms crossed, but her eyes, God, those eyes, pulled me in like they were holding a secret they were dying to spill. "I couldn't sleep," she said. "I drove without thinking. I didn't know where else to go." That was a lie. We both knew exactly where she wanted to go. I stepped closer, barefoot on the driveway, my t-shirt thin against the midnight air. Everything about the moment felt unspeakably intimate, like we'd stepped outside of time and into a version of ourselves we'd never admitted existed. There was a tension between us, a crackling silence that vibrated through my skin. "I shouldn't have called," she whispered. But her feet didn't move. Her eyes didn't leave mine. There was a pause, long and heavy, as if the world itself were holding its breath. "I'm glad you did," I said, my voice lower than I expected. She exhaled, and it was the kind of breath that carried more than air. It carried restraint, history, temptation, and something else, regret, maybe. I wanted to ask her why she came. I wanted to ask if she was alone. But instead, I opened the door, and she walked in. The second she passed me, I felt it, the warmth of her shoulder brushing mine, the scent of her skin wrapped in something floral and reckless. My heart did that stupid thing it does when danger wears perfume and speaks in quiet, perfect syllables. We didn't turn on any lights. The moon spilling through the windows was enough. It painted her in silver, made her look almost unreal as she stood in the middle of my living room, slowly pulling her hoodie off like she was shedding more than just fabric. "I don't know what I'm doing," she said, eyes cast down. But I could see her pulse fluttering in her neck, the slight tremble in her fingers. And I swear, for a second, she looked at my mouth. "I do," I said. And that's when everything shifted. She stepped forward. I didn't stop her. And just as her hand brushed against mine, just as the tension reached that unbearable pitch where something had to break, my phone buzzed again. A new name on the screen. One I never expected. One that could ruin everything. I didn't answer the call. I couldn't. Not with her standing so close, our fingers grazing like they'd been waiting years just for this exact kind of mistake. But I saw the name, burned into the screen, a brand across my conscience. Claire, my girlfriend. Not that she knew who was in my living room, or what her best friend was doing here, at midnight, in my shirt now. Yes, she'd slipped it on the moment she stepped in, like she needed something of mine against her skin. I silenced the call. Too fast, too guilty. She noticed. Of course she noticed. "You're not going to answer?" she asked, voice low, unreadable. I shook my head. "It's late." Her eyes searched mine, like she was trying to decide if she believed me, or if she even cared. Her lips parted, just slightly, and for a moment I thought she was going to say Claire's name. But she didn't. Instead, she walked toward the kitchen, barefoot and slow, trailing fingertips across the counter like she was memorizing the feel of it. I watched her body move through the dim light, curves softened by shadow, her hair wild from the drive, her spine perfectly straight like she was daring me to look away. I didn't. She opened the fridge, stared in like she'd forgotten why she came. Then she turned to face me, leaning back against the door, crossing her arms again. "Does she still think you're happy?" she asked. That hit harder than it should have. "I don't know what she thinks anymore," I said. "We haven't talked." "Not really." She tilted her head, studying me. "You don't talk, or you don't listen?" I hated how right she was. Claire and I had been fading for months. Smiling in public, silent in private. Everything between us had grown mechanical, safe, expected, boring. And then she showed up one night after a fight, saying Claire needed space, that she just wanted to check on me. That's when it started. The conversations. The secrets. The looks. "I didn't come here for her," she said now, almost defensively. I came for you. Those words. I came for you. I stepped closer without meaning to, drawn like her voice had gravity. We stood a foot apart, her back against the fridge, her body warm and pulsing with something unspoken. You didn't have to, I said. She smiled, crooked, sad, and dangerous. But I wanted to. I reached out, finally, brushing her hair behind her ear. Her breath hitched. I could feel it. Heat rising between us like we were standing too close to a flame. The fridge hummed. Outside, crickets. Inside, silence louder than any confession. My thumb traced her jawline. She closed her eyes. I can't stop thinking about you, she whispered. And I couldn't stop thinking about the risk. About what this would mean. About Claire, about guilt, about the mess we were about to make. But then she opened her eyes, and that was it. Every part of me betrayed logic. My hand slid to her waist. She didn't flinch. She leaned in. And just before our lips met, her phone buzzed on the counter. Another name. Claire. Calling her this time. The sound of her phone buzzing was like a slap in the dark. We both turned. The screen lit up her name again. Claire. Bold and innocent, and completely unaware of the war unfolding in her absence. She didn't move. I watched her body stiffen, eyes locked on the name, then slowly turned to me. Her chest rose in a shallow breath, but her face, God, her face was unreadable. A storm behind glass. She's calling you, I said, my voice hushed but sharp around the edges. She didn't break eye contact. I know. The phone kept vibrating, mocking us. You're not going to answer? I asked. She shook her head, a slow, almost tragic smile forming. Not tonight. I stepped back, the distance suddenly necessary, like I could outrun the guilt if I just took 3 steps away. You told me it was over, I said. Her laugh was small, humorless. With Claire? Or the part of me that cares? I froze. She was playing with fire. No, we were. But I had no idea how deep the flames went. Until she walked over to her phone, turned the screen face down without even flinching, and whispered, She doesn't know what she wants. But I do. The silence that followed was thick, swollen with consequences. She crossed her arms again, hugging herself like she'd just said too much. I could feel it, that shift again. The truth buried inside the tension. What are you saying? I asked. She looked up at me, eyes wide, wounded, and more vulnerable than I'd ever seen. I'm saying I've been lying to both of you. I swallowed hard. She moved to the couch and sat down slowly, like the weight of everything finally hit her. It started with Claire. She was the one who noticed me first, who kissed me first, who told me she'd never felt that way about a girl before. I stared at her, unblinking. You and Claire? She nodded. For almost a year, she said. But it was always complicated. Secret. She wanted me close, but never too close. And then, she introduced me to you. My stomach twisted. I never meant for it to happen, she continued. But the second I met you, it was like something snapped in me. You saw me. Not the version Claire wanted to show off, but me. And I hated how much I liked it. How much I needed it. I sat down across from her, hands in my lap, heart pounding in places I didn't know it could reach. You loved her, I said. I still do, she replied. But not the way I thought. I could see it in her eyes, that flicker of truth that people spend years burying. She wasn't here just to ruin something. She was here because she couldn't carry the secret anymore. You didn't come to me because of a fight, I said. You came because you wanted me to know. She nodded, slowly. I came because I wanted to see if I still had control. If I could stand in front of you and not break. I stood, walked over. She looked up at me with that same wild, defiant, desperate gaze. Did you? I asked. Her voice trembled. No. And then I leaned in, because I couldn't not. Our lips were a whisper apart. I could feel her breath, warm and uneven, on my mouth. I don't know who I am when I'm around you, she said. Maybe that's the point, I whispered back. And just as our lips finally brushed, slow, hesitant, electric, the front door creaked open. Someone had used a key. The creak of the door was soft, but it shattered everything. We froze. Her lips still close enough that I could taste the breath she never got to release. My hand still hovering near her thigh, caught between instinct and panic. In the space of a heartbeat, everything intimate turned criminal. Footsteps. Familiar. Measured. Babe. Claire's voice. I felt her stiffen under my hand. Her eyes wide now, not with seduction, but with fear. Not fear of being caught. fear of hurting her. She pulled back, barely breathing. We stood like statues, side by side. Two people who had gone too far and now couldn't find their way back to neutral. Claire appeared in the hallway, holding her phone, brows furrowed in confusion. Her keys dangled from her other hand. I was calling you, she said, looking at her friend. And you were here? No one spoke. Her gaze shifted to me, then back to her. The room felt like it tilted, like every word unspoken filled the air with a buzzing, inescapable pressure. I wanted to lie, to say she'd just arrived, that nothing had happened, that I didn't know what was going on. But the guilt was too loud, and Claire was too smart. Her voice cracked. Tell me I'm wrong. Still silence. She stepped into the living room now, slowly, like her feet didn't want to carry her forward. You were here with him? Her friend. No, my temptation, finally spoke. Her voice was soft, but not apologetic. I didn't come here for him. Claire stared. Then what the hell are you doing? I came because I needed to know. For myself. Claire shook her head, blinking like she was waking from a nightmare. You came to him? In the middle of the night? After everything? Her voice was rising now, and I could feel the edge in it. The betrayal. The disbelief. I stepped forward. Claire. No, she said, backing away from both of us. Don't make this worse. She turned to her friend. You're my best friend. I know. You were supposed to be. I know. Claire's voice cracked again, but this time it was rage breaking through grief. Did you sleep with him? No, I said quickly, but she wasn't looking at me. She was staring into her best friend's eyes, searching, needing something, an answer, a denial, a sliver of loyalty to cling to. And then, asterisk. I wanted to. Asterisk, she admitted. The words dropped like a match on gasoline. Claire's whole body recoiled. You wanted to. She laughed, a bitter, disbelieving sound. You wanted to. She backed toward the door. I can't even look at either of you. Claire, wait. I stepped forward. Don't, she snapped. You made your choice. She didn't slam the door. She didn't scream. She just left, with that eerie kind of calm that only comes when something breaks too cleanly to be fixed. And we were left standing in the dark. She sat down slowly, rubbing her temples. What did we just do? I whispered. Her voice was hollow. Exactly what we weren't supposed to. And for the first time all night, there was no more seduction in her eyes. Only wreckage. But even as the guilt sank in, I couldn't ignore the brutal truth clawing at my chest. I still wanted her. We sat in silence for a long time. The kind of silence that doesn't just stretch, it suffocates. Her hands were clasped between her knees, knuckles pale, eyes locked on the floor like she was afraid to meet mine. I leaned forward, elbows on my thighs, every breath thick with something between shame and longing. I could still feel the heat of her body, the ghost of her lips, the heartbeat that wasn't mine thudding in my memory. I didn't think she'd come here, she said finally. Neither did I. She turned her head, just enough to catch me looking. She's not coming back, is she? No. She nodded, lips trembling. I stood and walked to the kitchen, needing space. Not physical, mental, emotional. Some small illusion of distance between what just happened and what was still clawing beneath my skin. But I couldn't shake it. The way she'd looked at me before Claire walked in. The way her body leaned into mine like we were already written in some darker version of the story. The ache hadn't gone anywhere. It was just wearing a new face now, guilt. I poured 2 glasses of water. Something simple. Mundane. Like maybe if I pretended we were just 2 people having a late-night conversation, none of it would feel like it was spinning out of control. She took the glass with a thank you that didn't sound like gratitude. I should go, she said after a minute. You're not okay to drive. She looked up, met my eyes. You still care. I looked away. Of course I do. Even now. I paused. Especially now. That was the moment. That single sliver of vulnerability cracked the silence wide open. She stood slowly, set her glass down, and crossed the room until she was right in front of me again. Do you hate me? No. Do you regret it? A breath caught in my throat. I should have said yes. But instead, no. She exhaled, almost like a sob. And then she reached for me. This time, there was no pretense. No space left between us. Her body melted into mine like it belonged there. Our foreheads touched, breath mingled, hearts out of sync. I can't think when I'm around you, she whispered. Then don't, I said. Her lips found mine, not desperate, but slow. Like she was asking permission with every movement, and I was answering with every quiet ache I'd tried to bury. The kiss deepened. Her hand slid under my shirt, fingertips brushing skin, not possessive, curious, like she wanted to know who I really was underneath all of this shame. And still, it wasn't lust that broke me. It was the way she trembled. Like this wasn't just a mistake. Like it was a confession. A need. I backed her into the wall, never breaking the kiss. Her body arched into mine, breath sharp, soft moans swallowed into my mouth. Her hand curled around the back of my neck, pulling me closer, closer, like she didn't trust the space between us not to lie. And in that moment, I didn't care who we hurt. I only cared that she was here, and that I was the one she came to. But just as my hands found the curve of her waist, just as I lost the last thread of hesitation, her voice broke against my mouth. "There's something else I haven't told you." I froze. Not because she pulled away, but because of how she said it. That voice. Fragile. Like something delicate was about to shatter if she exhaled the wrong way. "There's something else I haven't told you." We stood there, still pressed together. My fingers at the hem of her shirt. Her forehead leaning against my collarbone. Our bodies said yes, but her voice said wait. I pulled back just enough to see her eyes. "What is it?" She hesitated. Her lips parted. Closed again. Her throat moved as she swallowed 100 unspoken thoughts. "You're not the first," she said. My stomach sank. "I mean," she rushed, with Claire. "I wasn't the only one. She did this. With others. Men. Women. Anyone who made her feel seen for 5 minutes." I stared. "She cheated on you." She nodded. "More than once." I didn't know at first. I thought I was special. But then I found messages. Pictures. Late-night work drinks that didn't line up. Her voice cracked, but she didn't cry. She was past tears now. This wasn't a fresh wound. It was one she'd learned to live with. "Why didn't you tell me?" She looked down. "Because I didn't want that to be the reason this happened." "What do you mean?" "I didn't want you to think I came here to get revenge. That I used you. That I was just trying to hurt her back." Her fingers played with the edge of her sleeve, nervous. "I came here because I couldn't stop imagining it. You. Us. I'd wake up in the middle of the night thinking about your voice. The way you looked at me when she wasn't around. The way you made me laugh when I felt like I was disappearing." I didn't speak. I couldn't. She took a step back. "I needed you to know this wasn't about her." "Then what was it about?" She met my eyes again, and there it was. The thing she'd been hiding under every smirk, every whispered confession, every kiss laced with guilt. This was about me. Her voice was steady now. Finally choosing something I want. Not because it's safe. Not because it's what she needs. But because it makes me feel alive. The weight of it hit me all at once. This wasn't just betrayal. It was liberation. She wasn't here to break something. She was here because something in her had already broken, and I was the only one who made her feel whole again. We stood there for a moment, surrounded by the ghost of everything that had just happened. The silence this time wasn't empty. It was full of meaning. "So what happens now?" I asked. She smiled. A small, dangerous smile. "That depends on how honest you're willing to be with yourself." I stepped forward again, slowly. Testing fate. Testing her. "And what if I told you I still want you?" "Then I'd say." She reached for my hand, slid her fingers between mine. "Prove it." We kissed again, deeper now. Not desperate, but deliberate. Not rushed, but inevitable. Her body pressed into mine like it had already decided how the night would end. And just as I lifted her into my arms, just as she wrapped her legs around me, breath hot against my neck, her phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't Claire. It was a name I didn't recognize. But hers? She went pale. The vibration stopped. But the silence it left behind felt heavier than any ringing could have. She was still in my arms, lips parted, breath uneven, fingers tangled in my hair. But she wasn't with me anymore. Her eyes were fixed on the phone screen, the glow painting her face in cold light. "Who is it?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. The name was still there. Not Claire. Not anyone I knew. Just 3 letters. Eli. She untangled herself from me slowly, like her body was suddenly made of glass. "I need to take this," she said. Her voice was different now. Sharper. Like someone who just remembered they left a door unlocked, or something buried. I nodded, backing away, my chest tightening without explanation. She stepped into the hallway, phone pressed to her ear. I couldn't hear what she was saying, just her pacing. Back and forth. Quick steps. Then stopping. Then a quiet, "I know," followed by a long silence. The call ended after barely a minute. She came back in, face pale, avoiding my eyes. "Everything okay?" I asked. She nodded too quickly. "Yeah, it's nothing." But her hands were shaking. I took a step closer. "Tell me the truth." She closed her eyes, exhaled hard, then looked up. "Eli, he's not just a name in my phone." I waited. "He's someone I met before Claire. Before all of this. Before I even knew who I was." There was something in her voice, regret, maybe, or something older, deeper. "He's the only person I ever told the whole truth to. About Claire. About how she treated me. About how lost I felt." I folded my arms. "So why is he calling now? At midnight?" She looked down and whispered, "Because I texted him before I came here." Silence again. A different kind now. The kind that fills a room when you realize you were never the only one holding the match. I sat down, staring at the floor. "Why?" "I needed someone to remind me I wasn't crazy. That wanting you didn't make me broken." I looked up. "Did you tell him you were coming to me?" "No," she said quickly. "But I think he figured it out." My heart pounded. Not out of jealousy, but fear. Not of him, of what she was running from. "Is he an ex?" "No," she said softly. I raised an eyebrow. She sat beside me, not touching, but close enough to feel the tension return. He was the first person who ever really saw me. But it was intense. Too intense. We wanted each other so badly we broke each other trying to prove it. And now he's back. She nodded. I haven't heard from him in months. And suddenly, tonight, he calls. A chill ran through me. "You think he knew?" "I think he always knew where to find me," she said. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "And I think he still wants me." I didn't speak. My jaw clenched. Something primal stirred in me. Not rage. Not possessiveness. But the realization that no matter how close I pulled her, she'd always have ghosts. And maybe one of them just knocked on my door. But before I could respond, before I could ask what this really meant, her phone buzzed again. This time, a message. Just 3 words. From Eli. "I'm outside. Come out." She didn't move. The message lit up the room like a warning. "I'm outside. Come out." She read it once. Then again. "I didn't think he'd actually come," she whispered. Her voice was more fear than surprise. And in that moment, I realized something I hadn't wanted to admit until now. She wasn't just here because she wanted me. She was here because she needed out. From Claire. From the lies. From the versions of herself that other people wrote for her. She'd been escaping all night. Not running to me, but running through me. And I let her. "What are you going to do?" I asked. She turned to me slowly, her eyes wide, conflicted. "Part of me wants to go outside. Say goodbye. Finish it properly. And the other part," her lips trembled, "wants to stay with you and let the rest of the world burn." I stood, the tension in my chest sharp now. "I won't stop you," I said. "But I need to know, what was this to you?" Her gaze locked with mine. "This," she said, stepping close again, her voice low, breathless. "This was the only thing I've done in months that felt real." She kissed me. One last time. Slow. Lingering. Like she was burning the memory of my mouth into hers. Then she pulled back, eyes shining with something more than lust. "You were the choice I was never brave enough to make," she said. And with that, she walked to the door. Opened it. Stepped outside. I didn't follow. Not at first. Instead, I stood in the doorway, watching from the shadows as she walked to him. Tall. Leaning against a car like he'd been waiting all his life for her to come back. They didn't kiss. They didn't argue. They just stood there, face to face, 2 people with too much past between them and not enough future left. Then she turned back, and our eyes met one last time. No regret. No apology. Just truth. And then they drove off into the dark. I stood there for a long time, alone, shirt wrinkled from her grip, lips still tingling from a kiss that didn't belong to anyone anymore. I didn't call Claire. I didn't sleep. I just sat in the silence she left behind and let myself feel what I hadn't let myself feel in years. Alive. If you made it this far, tell me in the comments, what would you have done? Would you have answered that midnight call? Would you have kissed her back? Or walked away before the fire started? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. I've got more stories like this, true or not, I'll never tell. But I will say this. Some temptations don't come to destroy you. They come to remind you that you're still capable of burning.